All right, so yesterday at work was another humdinger, was another banger, and it started out pretty normal. I was talking to one of my old lady friends, and she was coming down to the corporate office for a large meeting with her group. Well, once you got to that meeting, the person who was leading that group had a computer that was not functioning. And rather than calling the technology department, she called me straight away. And within a couple minutes, I was on my way to deliver a new computer when one of the executives called me and said asked me why I was doing this because they felt like I wasn't a team player because I just act. I'm not part of that group that does the fixing stuff. That's not my area. But I do also manage the inventory for the entire corporation. So I got a good yelling at for not following procedure, not contacting management, and I was told that you don't follow the rules. And I'm like, you know what? I get my job done. That's really what it comes down to. But they wanted to make it seem like it was a big deal, and my boss was just sitting there fuming because I, I the department has a nasty reputation among the end users. And that reputation includes that no one wants to help them. And that's exactly what they told the big boss is that, hey, we've been trying to get help for this person for several months and no one's helping them. And when people, especially the executives, hear things like that, it really triggers them. And when they have a person like me who's fixing things behind the scenes, well, they don't like that either. And so that led to a conversation with me, the executive, then my boss, and then the last person that was supposed to be doing something. Here's the twist. When we called this person at home, they were crying. That's how bad this job is. They were at home and they were crying because they knew this conversation could lead to termination. And so he kept asking, it's like he was crying while he kept asking, it's like, what did I do now? And the executive gets us both off the phone call and calls back this person on a private call. That was a very strange conversation to have first thing in the morning. Later on in the day, after I'd gone over there to the corporate building, I walked into that conference room and one of the ladies ran up to me and gave me a huge hug, which was embarrassing because you don't normally hug the tech department. And especially in front of all of these very important people. It was full of executive level people. And then she said to the room, how many people here need new equipment? 4 people raised their hands. And I was just like, oh Lord. And then there was another woman who said, I can't get on the Wi-Fi. And I'm like, that's not my area. So I took names and started providing new equipment to everyone in that conference room. Anyhow, that all ended. I went back to the office and I was sitting at my desk quietly pretending that I was somewhere else when I saw an email come in for a termination. And this is the most wicked kind of termination, people. So this person, and I've told you guys this before, this person tried to put in her 2 weeks yesterday. They declined her resignation letter and gave her a termination on the spot. Never put in 2 weeks because I've seen this happen enough times that I will never give a 2 week notice. It's too easy for them just to decide, you know what? You don't like working here? We don't like having you here. Goodbye. Anyhow, also one of my other friends basically beat me over the head yesterday because she's in a career services position and she has many, many, many years of career building. And so she told me that I needed to get my resume to her and that she would take over my job search for me. How how often does that happen? Anyhow, that's just the lowdown of what went, how the day went yesterday. It was very, very stressful at times, and other times you're just kind of wondering, what is this place? All right, so today's video is whatchamacallit, is this comment through Chat GPT. You guys should have been seeing this comment now for about 5 minutes. And I thought it would be a good comment to build a video on. And so the title it gave me is "You're Just a Number." And our first talking point is companies prioritize profits over people. We all know that. Corporations only care about the bottom line, not their employees. Record profits, record-breaking profits, they lead to layoffs and stock buyouts. Just because the corporation is doing extremely well doesn't mean it's going to be good for the workers. In fact, as it says here, it's usually bad for the workers. Because once they reach record profits, then they've got to somehow get more profits. And the best place to get more profit is by letting your employees go. I've seen this so many times, and I know it's 100% true. The corporation doesn't care about the people who made the record-breaking profits. They just want more record-breaking profits. And the fastest way to do that is to reduce your workforce and force the other people to create more record-breaking profits and then lay those people off. It's kind of like the way that the corporation functions. It's standard operation procedure, and it's not good for the workers. But do they care? No. Do workers need money in the eyes of the corporation? No. They're just the grease between the wedges, between the widgets, the cogs, whatever you want to call it. I was watching Poppy's Playtime last night. I watched that game for like 2 hours, and oh my gosh, the amount of glitches and just seeing a game that was completely broken, and watching a person trying to beat the game was just awful, just terrible. And at one point, it felt like I was watching someone playing Elden Ring. It was so terrible. Anyhow, getting to talking point number 2. The illusion of job security and loyalty. Workers are told to be loyal and hardworking, but companies show no loyalty in return. This is what I meant with that earlier comment. You try to do the right thing by submitting in your 2 weeks, right? It is the professional thing to do. But instead, there's no loyalty on the part of the corporation. The corporation doesn't have to offer a civil answer to your resignation. They can act gangster and terminate you on the spot. Whereas you thought you were doing the right thing, expecting for them to do the right thing, now you're stuck in a position in which you're expecting to start your new job in 2 weeks. Well, let's say there's a misunderstanding on your start date. Now you don't have a paycheck between this today and when you start your new job. And that can lead to homelessness. Because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have the ability to not get a paycheck. And this has happened to me a few times, where you start your new job, but you started on the wrong pay cycle. Let's say you started on the off week, and you're not going to get paid this Friday, and then you're going to have to wait for the pay period of the next 2 weeks. So that means you're going to have to go 3 weeks with no paycheck, which for the proletariat is nearly impossible to do without major hardship. And maybe there's a delay in starting your new job, or the worst possible outcome for starting a new job. They decide that they're not going to hire for that position anymore after offering it to you. This scenario can even happen when you move to another state. I read an article during the summer of a woman, a nurse, who left California, moved to Texas after signing a work contract, and she got there and she went to go start her new job, and they told her, "Sorry, we're cutting back, and we're not going to be filling that position after all." Now she's stuck in Texas with no money and no job. Talk about being in a bad spot. But again, you're just a number. The corporation doesn't care. There is absolutely no loyalty between you and that corporation. They don't care if they ruin your life. They don't care if they fire you today. And I'm of the belief, and my office shows this, that I am prepared to lose my job every single day of every job I've ever had. Right now, if I walked into my job this morning, my boss was there and told me you don't work here anymore because we're tired of your stunts. I would just be like, you know what? Okay. You guys have not been able to find anyone that will take this job. There's just been turnover after turnover because this position sucks. And they know it sucks. And they're well aware that this job is only going to be done by the most desperate of desperation worker. But they simply don't care. Desperation workers are what they want. They're always looking for someone more desperate. In fact, in the script that I was writing last night before I went to bed, desperation worker was an entire category. All right, talking point number 3. The system is designed to keep you stuck. Wages stay low on purpose, just enough to survive. That's the point of every job. That's why I made yesterday's video. The lifestyle difference between 8, 16, and let's say $24 an hour is not that much. In fact, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. In the opinion of the corporation, you should be working 3 $7.25 minimum wage jobs an hour full time in order to get to just $21 an hour, which is $40,000 a year for 120 hours of labor. Can you imagine that? That doesn't even cover rent, a car, and food. But that's what they expect you to be doing. And you kind of just scratch your head. It's like, oh my God. I mean, even at $20 an hour, that's $40,000 a year. 30,000, that's 60,000. That's $40 an hour. That's 80,000 roughly. It's still not enough money. So regardless of where you find yourself on the pay scale, you're not doing great. Just multiply what you're making per hour times the federal minimum wage and look how little money you make. It's just not enough. And the wages are on purpose. It's just enough so that workers are able to return to work, but anything that happens in their life out of the normal can ruin them. Whether it's a medical bill, your promobile crapping out on you, a bill, an unexpected bill for something. Let's say your power bill goes up or your rent goes up. You're screwed. There's nothing in the tank to keep you from ending up in the worst possible situation, which is living in your car or worse. Talking point number 4. The wealthy play by different rules. The system forces workers, your little bros working at McDonald's, into endless labor while the elites profit off of their desperation. If working hard really made you rich, why aren't the hardest workers the wealthiest? I touched a little bit on this yesterday, but this working on a different level, right? The rich have money to generate more money. Money makes money. But when you don't have money, the money you have goes straight into the pockets of the very wealthy. When you pay your rent, you're paying the wealthy. When you make a car payment, you're paying the wealthy. And when you have to buy overpriced groceries at Kroger's, that money is being paid into the wealthiest people. It's not going to the cashier or the guy working in the deli or the meat department or even the gas station. That money gets funneled straight to the top. And unfortunately, that's the way our system works. Rich people don't trade time for money. They own assets, businesses, and investments. Poor people have to trade their life for the tiniest bit of money just to survive. And it's an unjust system that only has one solution. There's only one cure for this disease of the wealthy, and that's to get rid of them, to eliminate their avenues into our lives, to, I guess, just ransack us. We don't have a choice on who we pay in order to get our electricity, our internet, our food. The places that we can work at. We don't really have much of a choice. It's like we work and we get the money that we can get, but beyond that, we can't hold the corporations accountable for the terrible working conditions of the proletariat. There's nothing that we can do other than challenge a system that's innately broken and that's designed for only one class of people to be successful. Rich people don't need to work. They can just control the money by having all the money. And that leaves us, the poor people, with zero control. And I'm not okay with that. This world has so many resources that it needs to change. We need to do better as a society. And that starts with the 99% looking at the amount of control that the rich and the policymakers have over the proletariat and saying that we're not okay with that. Because this system needs to go away. A more equitable system needs to replace it, and that needs to happen sooner rather than later.